Jordan, why don't you give a quick introduction to who you are and what do you do here at the Thaiger?
Well, I've come on board as a new fashion and travel writer, so I'll be heading up new fashion section as well as new travel section on the website. Be looking forward to seeing those released soon and at the beginning of 2022.
That's great. And as always, my favorite co-host, don't tell Tim, it's Natty Warisa.
Yay, hello everyone.
Hello everyone, indeed. We hope you all had a very Merry Christmas and great parties over the weekend. So let's just get straight into it, guys. Now, today I'm going to start off, Today I'm going to start off with first topic regarding Thai prison system. Now, there was a story out last week regarding a Reuters story that came out saying that prisoners were being forced into labor to make fishing nets for private companies. Now, the Department of Corrections has actually come out and said, hey, we don't threaten or physically harm our inmates like it was suggested in the report, and no one's being forced. It's actually vocational training that we offer to prisoners so that once they do get out of jail, they'll have some life skills that they can apply to get jobs. You know, nobody's being forced or beaten to do this. So let me just, firstly, I don't think any prison in general, there's no saints in the prison system. Now, Thailand's prison system is very questionable. How much truth there is to a story like this, there's no hard evidence in it, but a publication like Reuters to coming out to say such strong allegations against the system, it's quite damaging. What do you think? Any initial thoughts?
Well, it reminds me of something I read, possibly from one of these reputable news sources when I was living in China, talking about the Chinese prison system. I read that inmates were forced to make Christmas lights. Okay. And that was quite shocking because I love Christmas lights, and it's something I always hang up around this time of year. And just to think that my Christmas lights could have been made by prisoners through forced labor. And that is shocking. Mm-hmm. But it's something to consider. Where do our products come from? Were they made as cheaply as possible, basically without paying for the labor to produce these items? So fishing nets, it's not something that I use, but I could see how it might be profitable for a prison to force their prisoners to make these things. We hope it's not the case, but again, I can't verify the truth of those statements.
But there is a lot of truth in the fact that we don't actually question where our products really come from, who's making them. Natty, do you ever question that firstly?
I don't on a regular basis. I just buy things, but then what constitutes to forced labor? I mean, like if they're just sitting in prison doing nothing, isn't it kind of nice for them to be hands-on doing something? I don't know. But if it's forced, obviously it's not good. Yes. If they don't want to make Christmas lights, don't make them make Christmas lights.
The point that I guess the article was trying to say, that they were being threatened by by beatings, and also threatened under false, I guess, pretenses that you'd get a longer stay in prison if you don't follow or abide by what we tell you to do. So
that's
I guess
horrible. Yeah,
that's the horrible part of it. Anyways, you can find more information on that story at thethaiger.com. Let's move on to our second topic, which is regarding a new sex app for deaf youths. Natty, you've got more information on this.
Yes, quite an interesting story indeed. So Mahidol University just launched the Compulsory Sexuality Education, or CSE, for deaf mobile app for people with hearing impairments. It's launched on the Apple Store and also for Android users. And the content is created by Assistant Professor Kanokwan Tarawwan, who's a lecturer at the Institute for Population and Social Research at Mahidol University. She has a PhD in medical anthropology from the University of California, and she's taught sexuality education for more than 20 years, so she knows what she's doing. The target market for this app is targeted for youths ages 10 and up. And the reason why she developed the app was because she noticed that a lot of deaf deaf youths do not attend school. I don't know why they don't attend school, but they don't. And so they don't know how to sign properly. And because they can't communicate, they don't know where and how to acquire sex education to protect themselves from unwanted advances, pregnancies, diseases, and violence. So the app actually has 5 main topics on them. The first one is sexual orientation, which tells that a man can love a man, women can love women, and men can love women, and everything in between. The second part is about safe sex, teaching them about condoms, birth control pills, and where to find them. Third part is about unplanned pregnancies. Fourth part is about STDs. And the fifth part is about violence against women. Now, because this is an app for the hearing impaired, they rely heavily on graphics and pictures. And a little fun fact is that when she was developing this app, Apple actually took it down initially because they were like, ooh, there's too many explicit pictures on there. So they reduced the picture content. And now she said, well, now it kind of looks like an app for kindergarteners. So it's still in the piloting process, and it will be further developed in 2022. Currently, the app is being sponsored financially by the Canadian government, interestingly enough, even though she is based in Thailand. And she said that she needs funds for up to 2 million baht to maintain the app and further develop it. And so, I don't know. It's funny that there's now an app being developed for the hearing impaired in Thailand, because actually sex education in general, even for the non-hearing impaired in Thailand, I find that it's non-existent. So this is like jumping a step a little bit. I understand that there's obviously a need for it, but I think there needs to be better sex education in Thailand. Now, I don't know in the US, because you studied there, right? Like, how is the sex education, how is it taught there?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and I'd be very glad to answer it. I think regardless of which country you live in, sex education is something that the parents should have control over. And it's not something that should be outsourced to the education system, or in this case, an app developed by some woman we don't even know her worldview. I see in the notes here, this app is targeting children aged 10 and up. And, if I have a child, or when I have a child, certainly I will be controlling my child's mobile devices and the apps they choose to download. And I would not be outsourcing having a sex talk about these things to an app. Certainly I would not. So I feel quite strongly on this point. But to be fair, this lady sees that there is a need. And I think it's up to the parents to decide, is this good and is this necessary? So definitely I would say to any parents out there considering downloading this app, first download it yourselves, look at it, do you agree with it? If you agree with it, okay, then perhaps you can use it as a tool to initiate a conversation. But I would absolutely, I'm so against outsourcing this type of conversation to the education system or to an app. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with your point, Jordan. That parents should be the first ones to step in and make this. But however, sex education or sex in general is still such a taboo subject here in Asia, not just Thailand, and it's something that parents shy away from, and they just basically let the school handle it or let someone else handle it. I don't want to be put in that awkward situation. So. The fact that this app was created for deaf youths, I think in general it's great. It could be beneficial. Also, since it is targeted for such a young audience, like 10 years old, I can understand why Apple firstly took it down. Imagine having extremely explicit graphic content for a 10-year-old, and they're like, what's this? And that would just create more questions in our young youths' lives. So I hope that this is a good step forward in general, for sex education in general as well in Thailand, because like you said, it does lack in that department. There needs to be better sex education for all. Right. All right, let's take a quick break, guys. Once we come back from the break, we're going to be talking about a new credit card payment system for public transport in Thailand. And lastly, top 5 destinations you can travel to for this New Year's that's coming up. We'll be right back.
Find the coffee roast you love most. Coffee Culture delivers Thai coffee online. Whole beans or pre-ground delivered to your doorstep in Thailand. Go to coffeeculture.asia and get coffee you love delivered to your doorstep.
Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Thailand. I'm Jay. This is Jordan, also known as Jay, by the way, at the Thaiger, and Natty. Now, guys, let's just quickly talk about this topic I have regarding credit cards. Now, I've noticed, and maybe Jordan, you've also noticed, that when you do come to a place like Thailand, we're very heavily reliant on cash and possibly debit cards in general. Not so much on credit cards. When you go to if you go to small convenience stores, forget about it. It's nothing but cash. But even if you go to places like 7-Eleven, maybe 7-Eleven's a bit better now, but public transportation, when you're traveling around in Bangkok, you'll notice that you're not able to use your credit card as much as you'd probably want. And if you can, they sometimes charge you like 3%, something silly like that, just because you're using your credit card. Now, this is a problem that expats, tourists, and foreigners come across a lot in Thailand. The Ministry of Transport, however, has announced that credit cards and debit cards will be accepted as payment soon on public transport in Bangkok, expected at the beginning of March next year, and eventually they'll allow EuroPay, MasterCard, and Visa cards on buses, trains, electric boats, as well as some SRT and MRT lines. Krung Thai Bank has partnered with the Mass Rapid Transit Authority of Thailand to bring this payment system project to life, and they're now trying to basically, move Thailand into the future, make it more modern, blah, blah, blah. I'm surprised that it's taken them this long, but let's start with you first, Jordan. Did you come across this issue, that how nobody really uses credit cards as much as they probably should?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have a few things to think about this. Should we use credit cards? That's a whole different can of worms. And I would say yes, you should use them wisely if you want to build credit. As an expat living in Thailand, I have actually applied for a credit card, and it felt like a similar process to applying for a visa, and it required like a book full of paperwork.
Yes.
Whereas in America, if you want to apply for a credit card, it's just a click of a button. They send it to you in the mail, or they send it to you, you don't even want it. Seriously, it's so easy in America to get a credit card. But in Thailand, it's like reams of paperwork. And you could argue that's a good thing, right? Because you don't want to be in debt, and you don't want to be like living in this debtor's mentality.
Yeah.
But getting back to the question of like, will this revolutionize or make the transportation system more modern? And that is absolutely yes, because I see a lot of similarities between Bangkok and where I'm from, which is the city of New York. I'm from Brooklyn. Okay, so every time I go back to New York, I'm just so shocked at how behind the times it is. Everybody loves cash, as you said. Like every little convenience store in Thailand, they only take cash. You can't use a card. It's the same way in New York. But this past time I went back, actually the new thing was, when you get to the metro system, you can take out your credit card and you can just tap it and you can enter. You no longer need that flimsy yellow MTA, whatever they call it, that little metro card, and it made my life like so much more like I would say I was less anxious. It was easy. I was in a hurry. I didn't have to stop. I just tap, go, I'm in. Wow, I love that. And if the same thing's going to happen here in Thailand, I would say the main thing is that travelers who are coming with their credit cards, their foreign credit cards, that they can just tap it at the MRT or the BTS station and enter. That will be so wonderful. I look forward to that day, and I will definitely be using my credit card to use this system area.
That's a great point you made. Will foreigners be allowed to use their foreign credit cards, considering the money exchange or not? We don't know yet, but as of right now, Natty, what do you think about credit cards firstly, and do you think this will be very helpful for people moving forward? Will this be more convenient for a city like Bangkok where everyone's on the move every morning and evening?
Yeah, I totally agree with Jordan there that using credit cards is very convenient. Now I'm looking at as like from a Thai perspective, I guess. Like right now, even though we don't use a lot of credit cards, we are very heavily on QR codes. So sometimes like some coffee shops, they don't even accept they don't even accept cash anymore. They only want you to use QR codes. And I'm not sure how that could link back to, like the systems back in the States or other countries, but if we could just use that, I don't know, either be QR codes or credit cards, it'll make it easier for everybody. And if every single country within ASEAN and then hopefully globally does that, oh my goodness, we'll probably like dollar bills will probably be obsolete. Well, very soon.
That's another great point you made about the QR codes, because since the pandemic, Thailand's become a lot more friendly towards e-payment, and QR codes is the way to go in Thailand right now, like 7-Eleven, or even when you have delivery. So when the delivery man comes to our door and gives us food for lunch, for example, you can just use your mobile banking app and scan the code and pay that way. Jordan, anything to add?
Well, I lived in China for about 10 years prior to coming to Thailand. I've been here about 2 years. So I'm able to really compare the two societies in my mind. Coming from China to Thailand, I felt like so inconvenienced at how I have to use cash everywhere, and like I can't just use an app. There's not an app for that. But to be fair, there's things like Line Man. You can use your app to like pay and order food and all that stuff, Line Man or Grab. But China is really becoming a cashless society. Probably the last 2 to 3 years I lived in Beijing, I didn't carry cash on me. I had no need for it. I just had my phone. My phone had the payment apps. And, that was super, super convenient. But the other side of convenience is security and personal privacy. So basically, when all of your information is reduced to one app or one QR code, you're losing your control over your privacy. Who has control over your privacy is actually the government who is controlling these apps or is behind them. So actually, I see the benefit to carrying cash. I see the benefit to filling out paperwork. Yes, it's inconvenient, but you have more control over your personal privacy. So, I think we need to find a balance. And for me, Thailand is beginning to strike a pretty good balance. It's not like as extreme as China is at the moment. And I'm kind of enjoying it. Yeah.
All right. Let's leave that there. Again, you can find the longer story at thetiger.com. All right, guys, let's move on to our final story for today, a little more lighthearted and a little more fun. Now, Jordan, as you are leading the travel stories on the Thaiger, I guess you were the best person to have on today. And as New Year's is coming closer and closer, why don't you advise us on the top destinations to travel for this New Year's? Now, I believe you're going to talk about in specific top 5 drivable destinations.
That's right, Jay. So as I was reflecting on the top 5 travel destinations, and I was thinking about, what's going to be the theme for the start of the new year? And for me personally, that's adventure and nature. Because these past 2 years, me and my wife, like so many other people in this country and around the world, just been holed up, working from home mostly, and not really traveling a whole lot. And it's really a pity if you live in a country like Thailand and you don't have the opportunities to go out and see all the natural beauty. So here are my top 5 drivable destinations for the New Year's, focusing on adventure and nature. Okay, number 5 is Pattaya. And if you lived in Bangkok, then you've heard Pattaya. You've probably been to Pattaya. But it's a really great place if you want to enjoy water sports and the beach. You don't have to take a plane all the way down to Phuket. Just enjoy the Gulf of Thailand there. Pattaya is a sub 2-hour drive. We're talking about 150 kilometers southeast of Bangkok if you just don't stop, nonstop. So it's very drivable and very enjoyable. There's a lot to do there, as many people know. So that should be on your radar. Number 4 on the list is Khao Yai National Park. I really love Khao Yai. It's super big and lots of trails. You can do camping, you can do glamping. And my favorite thing to do in Khao Yai National Park is the night safari. You hop on a songtao and they drive you around late at night through the hills, and they have a big spotlight on the top of the truck, and they are like shining it in the forest, like trying to see some creature in the woods. So this is my favorite thing to do. Actually, I went there with my wife on our honeymoon. So Khao Yai is a 3-hour drive about 200 kilometers northeast of Bangkok. Number 3 is Koh Samet in Rayong. You've probably heard of it, again, if you are living in Bangkok, but it is the little island that is not too far away. It's just a day drive away from Bangkok in Rayong. It's 2.5-hour drives, about 200 kilometers southeast on the other side of the Gulf of Thailand, kind of opposite from Hua Hin, which is number 2 on the list. Hua Hin, also on the Gulf of Thailand, close to nature. It is a 3-hour drive, 200 kilometers southwest of Bangkok. So definitely, if you're wanting to drive to some beautiful destination, it won't take long from Bangkok. You can explore the Gulf of Thailand. You can go southeast to Koh Samet in Rayong, or you can go southwest to Hua Hin and enjoy the coastline. But number 1 on my list is a place that I don't hear talked about too often, and it's a place I personally haven't been to, so I'm really excited to drive there and explore it for myself. And this is Erawan National Park. This is a 3-hour drive, 200 kilometers northwest from Bangkok. It's on the Burmese border. And if you're willing to go just a little farther north, there is Sayok National Park and Khao Lim National Park. So there are 3 national parks in that area on the Burmese border if you're willing to go that direction. A little bit about the Erawan National Park. It's located in the Tenasserim Hills range of, I hope I get this right, Kanchanaburi province.
Kanchanaburi.
Yes, and it's popular for, they have these falls, a 7-tiered Erawan Falls with emerald green ponds. So if you can go there and check out this 7-tiered emerald green ponds in Erawan National Park, I think you will be pleasantly surprised at how pristine the nature is there, and probably not too many people traveling there by car at the New Year.
Wow. All right. Cool. Thank you for that. All right. So if you're looking to have a drive around by yourself, with your family or loved ones for this New Year's, these are the top 5 places that you can visit for this New Year's. All right. We're going to take another quick break. Once we come back from the break, we'll take some questions live on air from our viewers. We'll be back right after this. And welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Thailand with me, Jay, Jordan, and Natty. It's time to take a couple of questions before we end the episode for today.
I got here the first one. Johan Carrison says, is that Superman in the middle?
He could be. I've actually seen a couple of comments saying, is it Clark Kent?
Yeah.
Is it Clark Kent? It could be. He's just missing the glasses.
Yeah.
He's hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, I just gotta hop into the phone booth and.
Red underwear. Okay, anyhow.
Here we go. Asking about the pronunciation. Natty, how do you pronounce Pattaya correctly?
Pattaya.
Pattaya.
Yeah.
Pattaya.
I like the way you said Hua Hin. How did you say Hua Hin again? Wow.
I'm not sure how I said it.
Hua Hin.
Hua Hin.
Close enough.
Well, I'm not a native Thai speaker, but
No, you're
certainly
doing
up for
good.
You did
correction.
well. You did well. Way better than Tim.
Jay,
Yes.
Jordan got a lot of comments about your look. Paul Martin says, Jay says youth like a 90s mobster. Wait, says youth like a 90s mobster. I thought the way you dressed. Never mind.
It's like Officer Krupke. Youths.
You like a 90s mobster, yeah.
Youths. All right, let's take one last question before we leave, Natalie.
Your
Anyway, let's just quick. Do you plan to go anywhere for New Year's?
I do. Yeah, so top of my list, my wife and I, and possibly our little kitten, plan to take a day drive to Khao Yai National Park.
Oh,
we
nice.
love it. You know, it's so big. If you've been there once, well, you haven't seen it all. So, yeah, we're looking forward to driving there, and we found a really small place off the grid. We can't really call it a resort, and I'm not going to tell you the name because we will be enjoying our mobile-less, unplugged vacation. So the way you do that, you tell all of your friends and colleagues and family, hey, you cannot contact me during this time. We'll be traveling, and so if they don't hear from you at the New Year, then they'll know why.
All right, that's the way to do it. Natty, any plans for New Year's?
and no plans at all. I'm gonna be at home like a good person. And
Like a good person.
Like a good person.
Sure.
Yes.
She's off in her penthouse.
Yes.
Enjoying in the sky bars.
Sure, the penthouse.
Yes.
Well, how about yourself?
I'm just going to wallow in my own self-loathing
come on.
for about 2 hours and then cry myself onto the New Year's and hope for a better New Year ahead. All right.
That's one way to do it.
That's one way to do it, indeed. All right, let's leave it for here today. Thank you, Jordan, for joining us today and being our special guest.
Thanks for having me. It's been
Thank
nice.
you, Natty, as always. Thank you to Jason, behind the buttons shy. Tim, who is still resting his eyes. He will be in action very soon. And thank you to all the viewers for watching our show. If you liked it, please like and subscribe to our channel, as well as follow us on all of our social medias. As for us here at the Bangkok studio, we would like to say goodbye. Have a great day.